Welcome
Welcome
to Modern Mind,
Ancient Book,
where we, together, explore one of the most important books in human history. Nick, welcome to another Modern Mind, Ancient Book.
Glad to be back. I feel like I was in this seat moments ago, and yet it's,
Here we are.
It's great to be back again.
Yet again. So, today, we're doing the next book chronologically, and it's Proverbs.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because we're doing your podcast right now. I love Proverbs. But
to be fair, it's our podcast at this point.
well, okay. I'll be on. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm talking about it to everybody like it is.
So. So this book is another interesting one because it's an artistic expression from Solomon, Shlomo, and they, the people of Israel, and according to his history, is one of the wisest men to ever live. And it's got themes in it, like knowledge,
folly,
and understanding,
pride,
prudence,
humility,
discretion,
justice and righteousness.
There's correction,
Love,
counsel,
anger and strife,
instruction and discipline,
and even life and death.
Mm.
It was almost like we rehearsed that.
We didn't.
No, we really.
But we did plan it.
Yes.
So the
behind the scenes.
The book does have a structure. Solomon tells us what his purpose is in verses 1 through 7.
He's a thoughtful guy like that.
Yeah.
He's a thoughtful guy broadly, but it was really nice of him to right on the outset.
What his purpose
That would have
is.
been nice in like Revelation, but
Yeah. and it's what you would call a wisdom writing. So you have the Torah or the law, you have the prophets, and then you have the writings. In these two books, the one previous to this, Psalms and Proverbs, are in the wisdom writings category.
Right.
So the title of this book is Misele Shlomo. Shlomo. That's the Hebrew name for Solomon.
Right.
Shlomo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have punched somebody if they called me that in the street, but now I know.
The Misele Shlomo.
Yeah.
The Proverbs of Solomon. The Septuagint, this one's actually a little bit more difficult. This is Greek. Paroi mai. Paroi mai. Salamontos. Salamontos is the subject. Paroi mai is, I guess, the adjective, right? And it's the Hebrew designation. It's the Psalms or the wisdom writings of Solomon. Salamontos, the subject of it. So the title is taken from the major genre of the book. The Hebrew term, and this is interesting to me because this is a Hebraic thought is not the same as Western thought. And I sometimes struggle with explaining the differences, but this is actually a really good word for it. So, masal. It has the basic idea as something of parallel or something similar. Now, how would you associate that with wisdom or wisdom writings?
I think the immediate, the most obvious part of that would be if you understand something based on a concept that isn't exactly the same but has overarching principles, you're going to gain wisdom in a whole bunch of different areas.
Dude, you're a genius. So
I should have written some Proverbs before I came.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Like so it is similar and it is parallel. But what's it similar or parallel to? No,
you look. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I thought that one was rhetorical. Apparently, not a genius, but okay.
No, what is it similar to? I mean, this is the question. So why is a proverb a masal? Why is it similar or parallel to something? What is it similar or parallel to? What is wisdom?
Well, it would have been nice if somebody had explained that in the beginning of the. No, he did, but.
I'm putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay. No, I mean it's really funny actually because we're going over this now with the youth group at church, and we started out with the explanation of why are we writing this. This is maybe an oversimplification, but a blueprint. This is something that can spare you a lot of pain if you are capable of extrapolating from something that was ancient book.
Yeah.
Modern application, but the truths in it are eternal.
That's right.
And one of the parts of it that I've really driven home with them is, I've got a bunch of teenagers, right? And what is, like you're saying, similar, what is parallel? These are common experiences. They should be familiar to us. Mm. And they'll even say...
Even if they're written from an agrarian culture or farmers.
Right. And they will say, though, that they're obvious.
Yeah.
And then we get back to the wisdom of Solomon. Whether we believe that God imbued him with the more wisdom, either way, here's what I've said to them. He was at least wise enough to compile these things.
Yes.
And if he did that,
and
it's
rule
because
a nation.
And rule a nation and manage more than I can, in a lifetime in any given year. But if he thought it was important, then that means all of these things that we find so obvious are not things that we put into practice if somebody doesn't put them in front of us. Yeah. They may be familiar, they may be parallel to things that we've experienced. We may even be able to say, because I made this mistake once, I can avoid it in the future. But he's saying the wisdom calls out, looking for anyone who has a heart and a mind to attain it. Let me spare you this trouble.
Yeah. 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 Let me return back to the premise of the first question and this Hebraic way of thinking. So now for me, it was a challenge for me to understand that masal was the way that you would categorize or call a proverb, because it says parallel or similar, but parallel or similar to what? It's taken for granted that the ways of God are to be known. And so wisdom, as you teach it, is something similar or parallel to that which is already inside you that you should be acting out as you would explain it to someone else to teach them what's inside of you, i.e., the ways of God. It is the ways of God explained. The Proverbs.
Yeah.
Masal. But it's not plainly evident just from the word, because Hebraic thinking is slightly different than us.
Maybe more than slightly in this case. Yes.
So as a European linear thought sort of person, if you asked me what a proverb was, I wouldn't say it's similar or parallel, right? I would say, well, a proverb is a writing of some kind that explains wisdom or understanding for an individual to read and interpret according to their life to find some understanding. Right? So I would go to all this labor. But instead it says, nope, it's similar. It's parallel.
A revelation of God that should already be within you.
Yeah.
That's so much simpler, like you said, than we make it, but simple in definition, way more profound in application.
Well, it means you're a thinker. It means you're a careful meditator on the Word of God. It means you're a person who is in prayer and is present with the eternal, and you're seeking His ways, and you're able to explain to others that which is beneficial for them, which is what Solomon is.
Right.
That's why we have Proverbs. So it's a general principle in a specific situation that is related to a pointed precept. Meaning you have to study it. You have to think about it. Because it may not directly apply to you, but there's definitely a principle that applies. There's definitely a lesson that you can use to enrich your own experiences in life if you take the time to meditate on the specific precept in the specific situation. Then you're going to come to something that means something to you that you can use in your life. And that's why he wrote these things from an agrarian point of view. So, a wise person is a skilled craftsman. Concrete, a master artisan. They're very skilled at their trade. That's a wise person in Hebraic thinking. Also, a departure from the way we think.
Right. Yeah. When you were mentioning, it's conceptual. It's not as definitional as we try to make things. It's broader than that. I'm saying.
Yeah.
I do this. I try to pare things down, and sometimes the heart of something is not at the finest point of it. You actually do have to look at this broader picture. So to understand wisdom, like you would appreciate an artist or somebody who is skilled at their craft or their trade or whatever. Right. That's
sometimes you just look at the finished work and go, wow. It has nothing to do with the small, precise.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is again Jewish thought.
Right.
The Hebraic thought process is that an artisan is wise because of their capability. Because they have taken the time to hone the art to become as perfect as a man could be. Which is the other reason why Masal has even more meaning if you take into consideration the second part. Because what is he parallel to? The maker. The original creator. So the master artisan has taken on the image of God and is now creating beautiful things.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Revealing truth and beauty in the art.
In usable items.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He's wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the spiritual realm, a wise person is one who is skilled in living. They have the ability to take the Word of God and apply it to life and make something beautiful out of life.
Right.
Proverbs are art.
Yeah, we don't always think of them that way. It's not as apparent as Psalms, but it's still art.
And it's interesting because I don't know if people spend enough time in Proverbs in general. I mean, you could read a couple of these and spend weeks thinking about it. You don't have to read the whole book. You can read like 2 or 3 of them. And even if you don't think it applies to you at the moment, I promise, if you just read 3 of them and spent 3 weeks thinking about it, you'd come up with some stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, we get some stuff, maybe lowercase stuff, in 15 minutes on a given Sunday when we're reading through Proverbs together, and we only get through 2 or 3 of them at a time because
that's right.
it opens up conversation and it is parallel and it is familiar and it does reveal truths about God and His heart toward us and
about you.
Yes, exactly. It illuminates your own experience. It's wild. It's almost like He put a spark of Himself in each one of us. Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It created in His image or whatever that is.
Oh,
that was in there somewhere in the
right.
Bible.
Yes.
Yep. So yeah, like I like these things. Sometimes I find some of them a little more challenging for me to understand because it's written again from just that agrarian world.
Right. A few of them do come across a little bit
they're a little bit challenging, right? And
yeah.
those ones, I'll just do some research on them.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, Modern Mind, Ancient Book.
Right. You have to.
That's the key to these things.
Yes.
I think this is the challenge in general. These books are old.
Mm-hmm.
And you have two choices. You can look at them and you can say they're too old. Or you can look at them and say they have great value. I will therefore put in the effort.
Right.
And these particular artistic versions of the writings, they do take thought and effort. But they also take a researcher. Because we're a modern mind, and a European modern mind at that, right. A linear thinker. We don't understand Masal. We don't call wise people master builders.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, the whole foundation is something that you've got to get.
Would you go to I'm a builder.
Right.
Right? I have never once in my life saw somebody who can build really well and said they're very wise at building.
Oh, no. Never would have crossed my mind. It's that they have attention to detail, they're inspired,
very skilled,
not wise. I wouldn't have been. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I love music. The best song that I've ever written, people could say a lot of things about it. I don't think anyone would have said, "Oh, that was really wise of you."
Yeah.
It would have been a strange thing to say.
And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this is to just expose a bit of Hebraic thought so that we can not just understand it, but begin to integrate it into the way that we see the texts.
Right.
Because the modern mind has to meet the ancient book.
Mm-hmm. Although I do appreciate, especially in the Proverbs, that the ancient mind could be just as sarcastic as the modern mind. That was,
We'll get to... all these are my favorite books, but I've got a few of them that are my most favoritist ones.
Right.
And Proverbs is really great, but it's not one of my most favoritist ones. So, Solomon is the major author of Proverbs. His name's given at the beginning of 3 sections, 1 through 9, 10 through 22, and 25 through 29. He was blessed. He was given wisdom, and he was given very great insight. And he had great experiences in life. It's said that his wisdom was greater than all of the wisdom of Egypt. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. Now, we've only got a few of them. What was it, one song in Psalms?
Yeah.
But obviously, he was a musician as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a one-hit wonder, because it's only,
Yeah, there's not really many of his songs left, are there? Just one. Yeah.
Or two. We had
that's right. It was 27 and 127.
Right.
That's what it was. So he was a teacher, and he imparted knowledge to his people. He thought deeply and carefully, and he searched out and set in order Proverbs. In chapters 25 through 29, those ones were probably edited by Hezekiah. Just like in Psalms, Hezekiah brought back the old ways to the people after a time. And Solomon was a very, very great king. By that point, Solomon had fallen, and the kingdom had fallen. So Hezekiah is a part in the restoration of God's ways. And so there's a proverb, there's a point in this, chapters 25 through 29, where Hezekiah may have had a hand
right
in the book. So there's 2 other authors mentioned, Agur and Lemuel. But there's no other further information about those 2 men.
At least we have their writings.
Yeah, that's it. They were probably part of the king's court or something like that, right? Yeah. Officials.
They got the asterisk. Yeah. We had anonymous in the last podcast.
That's right. That's right. Anonymous. So, the date on this one?
The date spanned from 971 to 931 BC, the early reign of Solomon. And they were probably collected and arranged during that period. And then later on, like you were saying, with Hezekiah from 715 to 686 BC, when Israel was enjoying its greatest prosperity and peace, the restoration. And the rulers traveled throughout the Middle East to hear the wisdom of Solomon and observe the greatness of his wealth. That's something that we haven't mentioned so far.
Yeah.
That he was rewarded with that because he chose the wisdom first.
Yeah, so we talk about the restoration of the Davidic kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
This was it.
Yeah.
It was Solomon. Solomon ruled the world, the known world at the time, from Judah, from Israel. Big deal.
Yeah.
Hezekiah, 200 years removed.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and then he's putting that together. Side note for anybody listening, I just saw an article recently about new discoveries that detailed Solomon specifically. So in case anybody's just interested historically about his reign as somebody who ruled the known world, they just found something, and I don't want to mess it up by getting into that, but just check into it, because something...
Lots of archaeology has proven the Bible.
Yep.
Let's go to the key verse.
And the key
Proverbs
verse.
1:5-7.
Yep.
A wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire wise counsel. To understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. And that's why it's a parallel or similar too. Because the focus is not being wise in the world. It's not knowing better than someone else. It's knowing God and knowing how that plays out in you, in the world, to teach others about Him and what's right.
And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. I mean, that's a statement right there. You don't even begin with knowledge without the proper respect for the source of the parallel.
That's right. It's the similar thing to the fear of the Lord. So the argument is that the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, and fools despise wisdom and instruction. So where do you find wisdom and instruction? Proverbs, potentially.
Good place to start.
Kind of points back to itself, doesn't it?
It does. It's a little, it's self-referencing, but that's okay when it's inspired.
Yeah.
Right.
It's inspired. Yeah. And that's the point.
And we all agree about the second part.
Yeah.
Even we may not define fools the same way, but we agree that they despise knowledge.
Well, Nick, thanks for taking the time to do this podcast with me.
My pleasure once again.
Thank you for joining us. Come back soon.
Thank you for joining us for Modern Mind, Ancient Book. We hope that the time spent with us was valuable for you. It certainly was for us. Like Isabella said, please come back soon.